I've told this story exactly 3 times in my life. Once to a sheriff, once to a reporter who never printed a word of it, and once to myself out loud years later, just to hear if it still sounded real. It does. So if you're listening to this now, understand something first. I'm not telling you because I want attention. I'm telling you because whatever lived under Briar Creek didn't die there. I grew up in Briar Creek. If you look it up, you won't find much. A dot in an old country map, a name on a few abandoned deeds. By the time I left, most people pretended it never existed at all. Back then, it was just a town. 2 gas stations, 1 diner that smelt like burnt coffee and bacon grease no matter the time of day. Woods on every side. Thick old woods that felt more like walls than scenery. We trusted those walls. You have to understand that. We didn't treat them like something wild. They were just there. People hunted, kids built forts, old men wandered trails they'd walked for decades. Nothing bad ever happened. The place that mattered most sat west of town, beyond the river. A low stretch of forest everyone called the Long Mile. Nobody could explain why walking through it felt longer. You'd check your watch, swear you'd only been gone 10 minutes, then come back an hour late. Parents told the kids not to play there. Hunters avoided it without talking about why. Dogs refused to cross into it at all. We didn't call it dangerous, we just called it wrong. The first person to disappear was Calvin Reed. He wasn't from town. A surveyor hired to mark property lines after the logging company pulled out. He joked at the diner that morning about how quiet it was, how the woods felt like they were listening. That was the last time anyone heard his voice. His truck was found that night, parked straight on the dirt road like he planned to come back. Keys still in the ignition, radio on low. No footprints leading away. The ground around it looked flattened, smoothed, like something heavy had passed through and pressed the earth down. The sheriff said heart attack or stroke or something sudden. Then Denise Porter vanished. Denise had lived in Briar Creek her whole life. She knew the woods better than anyone, picked mushrooms every spring from the same spots, same trails, same baskets. She went out one morning and didn't come home. 3 days later, her basket was found, crushed inward. The reeds snapped clean like something had wrapped around it and squeezed once before letting go. The mushrooms inside were untouched, perfect. After that, things started changing. Dogs stopped barking at night, not slowly, all at once, like someone flipped a switch. Birds would lift from the trees just before dawn in huge silent waves. No calls, no panic, just gone. People complained about headaches, pressure behind the eyes, a sense that the ground wasn't as solid as it used to be. By the 6th disappearance, no one was pretending anymore. That's when the town met. The Grange Hall was packed. Hunters, loggers, retirees, the sheriff, the pastor with his sleeves rolled up like he planned to do manual labor. Everyone brought something that could hurt or kill. No one said the word monster, but it sat there between us anyway. The plan was simple. We'd go together, daylight, noise, numbers. Whatever was out there couldn't take all of us. I went because I didn't know how not to. We entered the woods just after sunrise. At first, everything felt normal. Leaves crunching under boots, sunlight cutting through branches, people whispering jokes they didn't really find funny. Then we noticed the ground. It wasn't level. It rose and dipped in long, shallow curves like frozen waves. Soil packed hard and smooth in places. Trees leaning at angles that made no sense, and roots exposed like something had pushed them aside from underneath. Someone pointed out the marks. Wide impressions winding through the forest. Not footprints, not tire tracks. The ground looked folded and pressed back into place. Bark scraped clean at chest height on trees that stood too close together for anything large to pass through. We followed those marks into the long mile. That's where the forest went quiet. Not peaceful quiet, empty quiet. No insects, no birds, no wind. Just a slow, deep pressure beneath our feet. At first it felt like standing near heavy machinery, a vibration you felt more than heard. Then the ground shifted, just a little. Enough that someone said, "Did anyone feel that?" Enough that someone else whispered, "The ground's breathing." And then it split open. The forest floor cracked apart like a fault line. Soil rolled away as something massive pushed upward, displacing earth like water. A head emerged first, blunt and wide, scales dark and scarred, eyes clouded with age but focused. The body followed. It didn't uncoil, it unfolded. Loop after loop rising from beneath the forest, crushing trees, snapping roots, dragging land itself upward. It was bigger than anything I had a word for. Older than the town, older than the roads. Moss and dirt clung to its scales like it had worn the forest as skin. When it opened its mouth, the sound wasn't a hiss. It sounded like a tunnel exhaling. Immediately after, gunfire erupted. Bullets struck and vanished. Flares burst against its body and went dark. The snake didn't rush. It moved with slow, terrible certainty. Lifting, crushing, swallowing. People disappeared beneath it like they'd never been there. I ran. I tripped over a root torn loose by its movement and rolled downhill into a hollow full of debris. I stayed there, shaking, listening to trees break and people scream and then stop. Eventually the sounds faded. The ground settled. The snake slid back into the earth, pulling soil and forest down with it. The seam closed. The long mile looked almost untouched. 17 people were gone. I left Briar Creek 6 months later. The town shrank. Roads closed, houses emptied. The woods reclaimed everything. But sometimes, even now, years later, I feel it. Standing on solid ground, feel that slow, rolling pressure beneath my feet. Like something very old turning over in its sleep. If you ever find yourself in a place where the forest grows too close together, or the ground feels wrong beneath your boots, don't wait to see what's there. It already knows you are. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy stories like this, you can support the channel by liking, subscribing, and returning when the lights are low and the house is quiet. Just remember, the oldest things don't hunt every night. They don't need to. Sometimes they only turn in their sleep. Until next time, watch where you step.